Welcome to the Agent Leader Podcast. My name is Brent Kelly. I am your host. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode. I am excited. I'm revved up. If you can't tell, it's sound of my voice, fired up to share with you some really important agency leadership principles today. In fact, what I'm going to share with you are three key principles or ideas that came from this past week. And this is really some reflections from my heart. And I always try to take a look at things that I'm experiencing, have the opportunity to experience personally, professionally, typically professionally, but you're going to hear today is a combination of both that has some key leadership lessons. And so what I'm going to correlate today may sound a bit odd because it is, but there's a huge impact and there's some great lessons from it. I'm going to share what I've learned from my wife's 40th birthday party. Okay, bear with me. There's a reason for this. And also my experience with the Agency Leadership Institute this past week in Cincinnati, Ohio. So what these two completely separate events, there was some correlation with some common leadership themes, and I want to share that. And it really is all about you, the agency leader, helping you become that best version possible of yourself and certainly your team. And always want to mention the Best Version Possible book. It is out. I mentioned this on most podcasts, but really want you to get an opportunity to get your hands on it, whether it's audio. We have an audio book out there, also the Kindle edition. But if you go to sitkins.com/BVP for Best Version Possible, you can get your copy. And actually I got back, I'll mention on this podcast, the Agency Leadership Institute that I was part of in Cincinnati. On the first session of that, I gave every agency leader a copy of the book. And I had several of the agency leaders that I had a chance to talk in different areas of the conference. And a couple of them said directly, we've already got this thing highlighted and dog-eared and taking action on some of the practical steps in the book. And we really kept this to a very practical book that your agency can begin to implement. So go check it out, Best Version Possible. So I want to get into the podcast today. And again, these are reflections from my heart. What does a 40th birthday party and a leadership institute have in common? And I'll start with the 40th birthday party because it's my wife. She finally turned 40. I say that finally because I'm a little bit older than she is, but she turned 40. And I got to start off by kind of calling out myself. I'm a terrible gift giver. I really am. I mean, I am. I'm not a good gift giver. It's not because I don't love people or want to help people. I forget. I get distracted. Right. And it goes back to something that's not good enough, because I've said this on this podcast before. Silent gratitude is no gratitude at all. Right. So there's a lesson to remember. All right. So I'm thinking about this. I'm like, okay, I've done a miserable job of giving my wife gifts. I mean, yes, we do things, but like a really thoughtful, proactive gift. And so several months before her birthday, I'm like, I've got to get on this earlier. I've got to be intentional with this. And a week would go by and I'm like, okay, next week. And a week would go by and next week. And finally I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. So I reached out to two of her good friends. And I also, my two oldest daughters, one's in college and one's in high school. And I said, listen, I need all your help. And I said, but to get your help, I got to share a vision with you. And so I said, obviously Tracy's birthday is coming up. It's her 40th birthday, my wife. And I want this to be really special. I want it to be memorable. I want it to be something that she can say, I was, just really excited to be part of that. It meant a lot to me. It was a great experience, right? That's what I was going for. And I said, that's what I really want. I said, here's the problem is I'm not sure how to do it all. And I would really love your input. And one of her good friends said, gosh, she goes, I love throwing parties. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. It gets me excited to put that together and do it. I'm like, oh my gosh. Her other friend says, I love to create memorable gifts. In fact, she's a gift basket company, but I love to create memorable gifts and to do this. And my daughters are like, hey, we love to help out with this stuff. We want to help mom. I'm like, great. Here is the vision. This is what I want to accomplish, right? With this gift. And here's kind of my big overall picture and theme. Can you help me out and do it? And they said, yes, we'd love to. Right. And then I empowered them and I equipped them, right, to go do it. I said, listen, I trust all of you, you're great at this, provided them some funding, certainly to go do it. And by the way, it was a great birthday party. It was a great experience. In fact, I just got back from the second thing that I'm going to get to, the Leadership Institute. My wife said, hey, just want to tell you again, that birthday party was really memorable. I want to thank you again for doing it. And I thought, Thank goodness for a good team. All right. So that's the first part. I just want to paint the picture here. The second part was the Agency Leadership Institute that I was part of in Cincinnati, which was right after the birthday this following week. And had a great opportunity. This was our second session. This is hosted by Cincinnati Insurance Company. Do a great job in relationships with their partners. Just really exciting to see a company. And I know there's a lot of carriers that really do care about their agents at a high level, but Cincinnati, to see that in action was really, really, it was really cool. It really was. And to have these agency leaders that come there to learn, to grow, to mastermind, to share, and also be fed, right, a little bit in different ways was really neat. And as I got done and I was debriefing the Agency Leadership Institute session that I was part of, it hit me. I was like, of all the things that all my notes of what was shared and discussed, I said, what some of the best agency leaders are doing is that they're very clear on the vision that their team can not only just hear it, but they see it and they feel it. And number two is they're empowering their best people, and certainly the people with unique skill sets, to carry these things out. And then they're always fine-tuning and looking for feedback to how to get a little bit better, right? So this is what I'm getting to. This was the correlation between my wife's birthday. And again, this is not to give, it really isn't to give kudos to myself, because quite frankly, I mentioned I'm a terrible gift giver. But for the first time in a long time, I took my own leadership lesson and created a compelling vision and empowered other people and equipped them to go do it. And then got some feedback, although the feedback thing I'm not as worried about for the birthday party. But the Agency Leadership Institute absolutely is the case. And so what can you take from this? And hopefully you're already hearing some of these themes for you as an agency leader. And I just have questions for you, right? As an agency leader, is your vision of your agency compelling enough that the right people and the best people are fully attracted to it, want to be a part of it, and are motivated to take action around it, right? That to me is the first principle I want to share with you is, do I have a compelling vision that other people would want to follow, right? Are they attracted to? What's my compelling vision? Now, a lot of people could say, well, in 2 years, I want to do this, or 3 years, or 5 years. And this is something I really want you to take heart as an agency leader, because at the Agency Leadership Institute as well, again, and none of us have this perfect, but the top leaders there and some of the success stories that they had in different areas, and it might even be different pockets of the agency, but they were very clear and compelling on their mission, where they were going, why it was important, the impact that they would have, right, in others, whether it's their community, their clients, their team, of what that meant, right? So number one is, what is your clear and compelling vision? If you don't have one, well, what does it need to be? If you have a decent one, how can I make it even better, right? People are emotionally engaged with those things. And as much as we do need to give tactics and processes, we've got to have a compelling vision that people emotionally go, I want to be part of that. And by the way, this is critical too for attracting and retaining the best talent, right? There's this emotional connection. It isn't just about the money. Yeah, it's part of it, but it really is about this emotional connection of a bigger, brighter future, right? So that's number one. And the other part of that, if I wanted to associate that with number one, it's also understanding that you have, as Dan Sullivan talks about, a unique ability in what you do as an agency leader, right? Which means there's certain things that you do really, really well, and there's certain things that you're not very good at, right? I mentioned in my own component, I'm really bad at planning and gifts and that kind of stuff. And this comes back to where we see agencies struggle with this too, is the fact that their intention is good, but because it becomes difficult or challenging or not in their unique skill set, right? And maybe they've done it in the past, and because they've done it themselves, it hasn't worked very well. They just kind of lose sight of it, forget about it, and go, oh, whatever, it's not worth it, right? So a big part of the compelling vision is then to attract and then recruit the people with those unique abilities, as Dan Sullivan says, or other strengths, right? God-given abilities that they have, to utilize those at the highest capacity they can, right? So that to me is just the whole idea of this first thing. And it's so powerful. And I think sometimes it gets missed in agencies, because you can do a lot of things as an agency leader, right? You have a lot of talents and skills, or you wouldn't be in that position. But are you deploying, right, the right people to do some of the things that maybe you're a bit inefficient with or ineffective with, versus saying, well, I can still do it at 40%. Yeah, somebody can do it at 85 or 90%. And you've got to be able to share that vision so they want to be part of it, which leads me to number two. I know those first were kind of like 1A, 1B, but number two is this. You've got to empower and equip them to actually do it, right? You've got to empower and equip other people on your team as a leader to actually do it. One of the things I heard so much at the Agency Leadership Institute is the fact that, yes, they would have an idea or a vision that they're sharing or a direction they were going or a goal they were looking to attain. But what would sometimes get them stuck in the past, and we hear these stories, is I was never able to fully give it up or empower other people to carry it through. I always had to have my hands in it versus saying, listen, if you're on this team, you're on this team for a reason. And I want to empower you and equip you with tools and resources to make sure that you can fulfill that responsibility at the highest level that you can. Right. In fact, one of the things I heard this years ago, responsibility without authority is a version of hell on earth. Right. Responsibility without authority, meaning, well, you're responsible for this stuff, but I'm not going to give you authority to actually do it. And that could be authority in actually transfer of power. That could be authority in financial equipping, having the resources or tools to get it actually done, right? We're not going to invest in that, but I expect you to get it done, right? So you as an agency leader, ask yourself, am I empowering and equipping the key people around me to fulfill the responsibilities so they can carry it through, right? And just take some time to think about that. In fact, go to the key people around you and say, listen, what else do you need? Right? As far as resources or tools, or what can I do? Even empowering could be giving your voice to them, meaning that you go in front of the entire team and say, listen, Susan or Joe is in charge of this. They're number one. If you have questions or problems, you go to them because I am fully empowering them to get this done. So that happens a lot in agencies too. And this happens for any organization, is that we say, hey, listen, go out and do it. But the team is still looking to you or me because we haven't officially empowered them, right? And part of that is communication. Part of that is funding, resources, tools to say, listen, do you have everything you need, right? Have an honest conversation around. I know sometimes people get worried because like, well, I mean, they always are looking for more. They need more. They need more. Yes, there's got to be a conversation, accountability around what it really takes to execute something. But don't leave people short. Don't just say, oh, good luck, go do it, right? That's not really empowering. That's certainly not equipping. So that's number two. And then number three is this. This is this constant improvement, right? And this to me is true of anything. Then when you go get a result, then it's how do we improve that result? And by improving the result doesn't necessarily mean that, well, now next time I do it, I mean, unless it really goes bad and you learn a lesson that way. But typically what the result you improve is hey, listen, this was the vision. This is what we were empowered and equipped to go do. This is what you did. What did you learn? What's going to be better next time? How can I help you more? All these questions, but we're constantly looking for feedback, right? That's one of the things that so often can happen in organizations, certainly insurance agencies, is that we go and do something, but we don't fully learn from what we just did. I had a great mentor I love that said, you can't improve a result till you go get a result, right? So go get the result and then look for ways to improve upon it. And again, as I was talking to agencies at the Agency Leadership Institute, that was one of the things that really came to light was the fact that, hey, listen, I have a vision of the future. I've done my best to empower and equip key people. And then part of this is now I want to become a mentor and a coach. I want to be able to help my next level of leaders to say, what did you learn from this? What was the impact? How could you improve? What worked? What didn't? Why? And you ask these questions, guess what? They're going to think through that. Now they've got the experience. And by the way, I love this quote. I heard this from John Maxwell. He said, people say that experience is the best teacher. He said, no, I believe that evaluated experience is the best teacher. So we got to evaluate the experience and what it means, right? So these are the three lessons I tied together. Again, kind of strange, but I was thinking about this, like my wife's 40th birthday party. And I'm like, wow, I think I was able to share a pretty compelling vision of what it is that I really wanted. I know this is it's pretty simple in essence, right? To share that kind of vision, but then to empower and equip people to do it. And again, the feedback thing, the bottom line was this, my wife loved it. So, she's not going to have another 40th birthday party, but there are lessons to learn even in my own life, right? Around, what are some other areas or things that I could do? And to be able to set visions, right? Even in my own household, right? As a family leader, that would be able to empower, equip, and then, of course, continue to get better in different areas. And certainly with the Agency Leadership Institute that I was part of, and those agencies we work with as our private client members or members of our all-inclusive model, again, the Sitkins Network members, it's that same thing. It's the idea of have a vision that's worth following or being compelling, empower, equip people, and continually get feedback to improve that result to get better and better and better. Right. So listen, this is my conversation from my heart to yours. Hope you gain value and to just take a few ideas as a leader of how you can do that. My passion around leadership continues to grow. I've always known the impact or continue to learn the impact of leadership, but the more I'm around agencies and agency leaders, there's some great responsibility. It's going to sound like Spider-Man, right? But with great power comes great responsibility. There is great responsibility there, but the opportunity that you have as an agency leader to certainly impact your own life. But I think what we see with great agency leaders, what they really love to do and what fires them up is how can I impact the lives of my team members? How can I impact the lives of future leaders? How can I impact the lives of my community? How can I impact the lives of my clients? What kind of, not even a legacy for me, but something that goes beyond me in the term of good to the world? How can I do that? And I think these three things are going to be steps for you to do that at a higher level. Figure out that true compelling vision, empower and equip people, and continually improve and upgrade the experience by getting feedback and evaluating what worked and what didn't. Listen, it's always a pleasure to be with you. If this podcast or this episode or others, I've got some great guests. In fact, I've got a whole list of people I'm going to be inviting to this podcast that I know will come on, share their leadership wisdom with you, the agency leader, give you more tips and ideas to grow and succeed in this very challenging but very amazing business that we all live in, which is the independent insurance agency. I can't wait to bring them on. So with that, wish you all the best in your success. Thanks for listening. The Agent Leader Podcast is brought to you by the fine folks of the Rough Notes Company. They are publishers of the insurance industry's leading magazine and technical insurance content. Rough Notes magazine profiles successful agencies plus keen insights from respected experts on a host of must-know topics. Rough Notes Advantage Plus provides the tools to help your agency grow, providing authoritative information on complex coverage issues. Visit them and learn more at roughnotes.com.